talk for us today on the basketball world. The injuries piling up. This one I can't. Giannis, 4 to 6 weeks, the calf injury. It had been bothering him basically the whole night, and he left for good with 34. Yeah, there you go. With 34 seconds left after the game, here's what he had to say. Oh, we're not going to do that. Well, lied to me.
They would tell me probably I popped something in my calf, one of my shoulders or something. They would probably give me a protocol of 4 to 6 weeks that I'll be out. This is from my experience being around the NBA. After that, I'm going to work my butt off to come back. That will probably be end of February, beginning of March. Hopefully the team win the plays that we can at least make the play or make the playoffs.
So this was a first for me, I think, Lou. I don't remember the last time so shortly after an injury a player gave us a timeline. Is that something you guys just know?
It was relatively fast, but this is all something that he's been dealing with, right? Like this isn't his first time having a calf strain and a calf injury. So I think they've traveled these waters before when it comes to this injury. You know, what I took from that was at this point he's still a Milwaukee Buck and he still looks forward to getting back on the floor. And you know, like I said, we're in a play-in and trying to get to the playoffs and those things. So you know, obviously that's going to be a question or a concern when it comes to his status as a Milwaukee Buck in the next 4 to 6 weeks or so. But you know, from an injury standpoint, this is kind of fast to be diagnosed, but, you know, like I said, this is something that he's already been dealing with. So I think they already kind of understood what it was going to take to get him back on the floor dealing with his calf strain.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't take anything from this other than him just being sarcastic, really. Like you could tell by the little smirk he had. Like I didn't think this was serious. I think obviously he's hurt. Obviously the calf he's had dealt with before, and this is something that you don't want to let linger. But I think this is just Giannis being Giannis. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this is just his way of almost kind of easing the pain and the media question and kind of sitting and waiting and seeing what the actual diagnosis is or was. But you do have an idea, the extent of something. I think when Kuminga went down with the ankle injury, he knew it wasn't something serious. When it's something like this, a calf, you never really know. And obviously he's been through this before, especially just as early as last season where he kind of went down in similar fashion. I didn't take much of this, though. I honestly thought it was just Giannis kind of doing that dry dad joke, like sense of humor. Maybe I'm way off there, but I thought this was just him being silly.
Also when the word pop is used, I hate that. By the way, the game itself, he did look disgruntled. And I'm sure if he feels anything like we're all feeling, we're sort of rolling our eyes. Like I couldn't believe he got injured with a 4 to 6 week situation. And in this game, he looked like, that right there. He walked away from a huddle at one point with Doc coaching. I don't think he was very pleased with how this game was going. Obviously, this trade deadline is looming, Chandler. Does this do anything for how you feel, your opinion on whether or not he gets moved?
I mean, look, he's frustrated. Their team is 18-26. They're not currently in the play-in the Eastern Conference that we know is not that good. And you've seen the frustration is definitely starting to get bigger and bigger with him walking out of huddles, with him booing the home crowd, with him kind of being a little more vocal than he's ever been before. And they're losing. And so I understand where it's coming from. His name has been in the trade rumors for a couple years now, and it just hasn't happened. And their team, he probably knows, they're not a real contender. They're not a real threat to come out of the East or to really even make noise in the Eastern Conference. So I don't know. And then when you see an injury like this, it does feel like something minor, but just enough to kind of get through the deadline and to kind of see where the team is. And is this something that he comes back from? Like, who knows? But I think it's all just because of the state of this team, where they're at, where's he at, trade-wise, and what are they going to do? And obviously he's been very professional throughout this part. He said he's never going to ask for a trade, but it's weird to see him go down like this and this timing of it with the deadline coming around. And then he says, hopefully the team gets in the playoffs or in the play-in. Like it's basically him putting it on them, expecting to be out for a long time. So it's probably not where they thought. It's weird thinking a Giannis team is 8 games under 500 and not and even in the play-in right now. So frustrations are definitely boiling, but I don't think he's clearly going to be
He
out
looks
for a while.
over it. Like he looks
Yeah.
over it.
It's all over the place. I really don't even know what to make of it, and especially with the timing of the injury. You know what I mean? But again, he's still saying that he hopes that the team is in a playoff position or they get into a play in the next 4 to 6 weeks where they can continue on. And as a professional, that's the mindset that you have to take. You have to worry about what's in front of you. And right now, as it stands, Giannis is a Milwaukee Buck. So until anything is different, he has to approach this as a player that's currently still on his roster. You know, no matter how frustrated he is, no matter how much he's over it, until something is done, he's a Milwaukee Buck, you know, and so we can make all of our opinions available and think the things that we want to think. But until then, it is what it is. And so I'm with Chandler. Like you can kind of see some of the sarcasm. You can kind of see him still kind of being over it and a lot of frustration in his eyes. But he said all the right things. Until different, he's in the green. So he has to approach it in that fashion.
So that's kind of like opinion, what we think he's thinking. But Lou, if you're a GM, if you're a contending team, this injury, does that do anything to sort of squash you if you were in fact deciding whether or not to make a move at the deadline for Giannis?
If I could, and if I can ever add a Giannis to my team, I'm gonna make a play for it. Now obviously, if I am a GM, I'm looking at this calf injury as something that can be concerning and something that I'm definitely wanting to talk about before I make that move. This is the second time of him dealing with this same injury, and we also know, the history of calf strains is usually something that's going to be linked to a more serious injury in your Achilles or something else of that nature. So that's something that needs to be talked about and is worth being concerned about. But on the flip side of that coin, look, if I'm the New York Knicks or the Miami Heat or something of that nature, or one of these teams that's been in these conversations to get Giannis, I'm still going to make a play for this if this is a 4 to 6 week thing, and so especially if I'm trying to compete for a championship in this season. Obviously, this is a setback, and this is not ideal now that he's injured for at least a month and a half, going well into the second half of the season. But I think you still make a play for him if I'm those teams for the long run.
Chandler, I know the Bucks have said they're buyers. They don't want to be sellers, right? I mean, that's what they've said out loud. But now you've got this injury. We've already shown where they are in the standings. It does not look great. Do you go full rebuild now? Do you start moving guys like our guy, Bobby P? Do you start moving Kyle Kuzma?
I mean, Giannis is the only real guy to trade to possibly make their team much different or better or rebuild. It all is going to come down to that guy. Like, yes, Bobby Portis is valuable. Yes, Ryan Rollins, people would love to get, but you hear that he's not going anywhere. It's going to come down to Giannis. And if I'm other teams and I see the way this season's going for them, 18 and 26 in the 11 seed, and the only 4 teams they're better than are Charlotte, Brooklyn, Indiana, and Washington. And it's miserable to go to that facility every single day. And I know how this goes. When you're on a losing rut like this and you're just constantly going to the facility frustrated, disgruntled was a great word. That's what Giannis looks like right now. And that's probably what the whole vibe is of this team right now, when you have a level of expectation and you don't even come close to reaching them. And so I don't know, but I know the phones are probably ringing. I know if I'm them, I am listening to any single offer that I could get. And if I'm the question you asked, Lou, if I'm one of these other teams, I'm for sure calling even more right now on Giannis. It's not like it's Jimmy Butler and he's 36, 37 years old with a torn ACL. Yes, it's a little concerning because it's his calf and that could lead to major issues, but I'm calling even more than I was last week after this injury because they keep losing and he looks more and more frustrated, and it's probably getting more and more willing and open to do a deal every day that goes by. So this injury, if I'm the 29 other teams, doesn't scare me the slightest.
Man, it's like blood, just chum in the water. They're like,
it almost makes me more excited. It almost makes it easier if I'm another team to call and get them because now maybe they're picking up sooner.
Wow, you're like, this is like an injured
buy
animal.
Without selling in this league either, so I don't know what they're thinking with that. But
I think they don't want to hear it anymore. But honestly, this injury is it could not have gotten worse timing. It's like the basketball gods were just not having it this weekend because that's not the only big name injury and big name that's also been floating around as this trade deadline pops up. Ja freaking Morant out 2 to 4 weeks with a UCL injury. Good Lord, he's only gotten to play in 20 games so far this year, and now you've got another setback. Whew, Lou. Again, when I say I roll my eyes when this news breaks, it's not in a bad way.
This is
It's like you
uh,
got to be kidding me. That's how I
this
feel
is
about this. Like
all the main
now
guys
what?
that's supposed to be traded are now injured.
Yeah. Well,
Lackluster
like what
deadline.
When you really step back and look at what's happening around the NBA right now, you realize something massive is quietly forming in the Bay. This Giannis Antetokounmpo situation in Milwaukee isn't just another superstar rumor. This is the kind of moment that reshapes franchises, and Golden State is suddenly right in the middle of it. Giannis is a two-time MVP, a Finals MVP, a champion, and one of the most physically dominant forces this league has ever seen. We're talking about a player who can control a game without even touching the ball. When he's on the floor, defenses collapse, spacing changes, rotations break, and everything revolves around him. And now, for the first time in his career, he looks stuck in a situation that can't keep up with him. Milwaukee is losing. They're outside the playoff picture. They're dealing with injuries, chemistry issues, and a roster that just doesn't look like it can contend anymore. Giannis isn't just frustrated, he's confused. You can hear it in his voice when he talks about guys being selfish, about not understanding why the team can't figure it out. That's not the sound of a star who's comfortable. That's the sound of someone realizing the window is closing. And when you combine that frustration with this calf injury, the timing suddenly becomes explosive. The Bucks now have to make decisions. Giannis is out 4 to 6 weeks, which puts them right through the trade deadline. They're 18 and 26. They're not in the play-in. They're not close to contending. Every loss increases the pressure. Every day Giannis sits makes the questions louder. And around the league, every front office is watching. That's where the Warriors come in. Golden State is in a very unique place right now. Steph Curry is still playing at an elite level. Draymond Green is still the emotional engine. Steve Kerr is still one of the best minds in basketball. The Warriors have a championship core that still knows how to win when the talent is right. But they also know the clock is ticking. You don't waste a season of Steph Curry. You don't just shrug and say next year when you still have one of the greatest players in NBA history on your roster. Jimmy Butler going down made that urgency even stronger. The Warriors didn't trade for Jimmy to be average. They traded for him to chase another title. Now that he's out, Golden State has to find another way to give Steph a real shot. And when you start talking about players who can instantly elevate a franchise, Giannis Antetokounmpo is at the very top of that list. Imagine Giannis in a Warriors system. Imagine him running the floor with Steph Curry spacing the defense 30 feet from the rim. Imagine Draymond Green quarterbacking while Giannis attacks from the weak side. The gravity Steph creates would give Giannis more space than he has ever had in his career. The ball movement in Golden State would eliminate the selfishness he's dealing with in Milwaukee. The culture would give him something he's missing right now: clarity. Because that's what Giannis really wants. He wants to compete. He wants to be in a situation where everyone understands the mission, where every possession has purpose, where winning is the only priority. That's what Golden State has built for a decade. And here's the part Warriors fans need to understand. The injury doesn't scare teams away from Giannis. It makes them call even more. A 4 to 6 week calf injury doesn't change the fact that he's a top 5 player on earth. What it does is increase Milwaukee's stress, because now they have to answer a brutal question. Do you let a frustrated superstar sit while your season collapses, or do you cash in and rebuild? Golden State is one of the few teams that can offer something meaningful: picks, young players, contracts that match, a real basketball vision, and most importantly, a championship environment that Giannis has never truly had since his title run. This isn't about fantasy, this is about timing. Milwaukee is unraveling. Giannis is unhappy. The Warriors are desperate to maximize Steph's final prime years. That's how blockbuster trades happen. Not because someone demands out, but because reality forces both sides to face what's coming. Giannis doesn't want to be the bad guy. He doesn't want to torch his relationship with Milwaukee, but he also knows what he's seeing. He knows when a team has run out of runway. And when a superstar of his caliber starts sounding the way he's been sounding lately, it's never random. For the Warriors, this is hope. Real hope. Not hope built on role players or marginal upgrades, but hope built on the idea that one bold move could change everything. The Bay has seen this movie before. Big swings, big stars, big championships. Dub Nation, this is one of those moments, because if Giannis truly becomes available, Golden State will be right there. And if that happens, the entire NBA will have to deal with the Warriors being dangerous again. Let me know what you think. Do you believe Giannis and Steph could be the most unstoppable duo in basketball? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to Warriors Nation News so you don't miss what happens next.